ready? It's the Roundtable with me, Robert Bannon.
Welcome to the Roundtable, everybody. My name is Robert Bannon. Thanks for listening to us on the Broadway Podcast Network. You're watching us on our YouTube channel or seeing us on Broadway World. It's so great to be here where artists talk about art. You know, I try to be the show where the queer kids come to play. That's what Peppermint called the Roundtable. And you know what? When I think of what we do here, I have such an affinity and love for drag, and I have such an affinity and love for singers. And when you put those two things together, my head explodes, like my little brain. Because, you know, for me, my fashion taste is like I go to the TJ Maxx and buy this jacket off the rack. But somebody who can take an outfit or recreate a picture or build something out of literally thin air is beyond. So when I saw the first previews of Lempicka and I saw Novaczar dressed like a Lempicka painting, and then I did some research and found that Novaczar has been on Queen of the Universe and sings their face off. And it's something that is just really, really, y'all need to know. Catch the Novaczar experience wherever it's going to be. I had to. And born in Jersey, even if it's for a year, you're my people. Novaczar, welcome to the Roundtable.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. You're literally about to make me cry, like the way that you are talking about my accomplishments. It means a lot to me. I really appreciate it.
It is very hard to be in show business in general, queer culture, drag culture, nightclub culture. It's not like working at the Target. It's just hard too. But like to break into this world, it's hard. So what is your journey like? When did you decide that this was the path you wanted to take?
Yeah, so I started musical theater when I was in third grade, growing up in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And I worked with like a community theater company, and then I went to the Governor's School for the Arts for musical theater in Norfolk, Virginia for high school. And I was there for 4 years, and that was like a really intense, basically college prep training program. And in many, many ways, that was more challenging for me than going to college was for musical theater, to be honest with you. And I remember when I was in high school, I went to a gay bar called Ambush, which doesn't exist anymore. And it's actually a new bar now called the Rainbow Cactus. Shout out to my 757 people who are watching. And at first, when I saw drag for the first time, I was like really turned off to the idea, because I don't know, something, I didn't take it seriously, and I didn't necessarily like that it was in a bar setting, and just something about it wasn't appealing to me. And then I was put in drag for the first time, and I was like, oh, the fantasy is felt, honey. And it was like a whole new world kind of opened up for me. And then I went to college for musical theater, started watching Drag Race, Sasha Velour won season 9, and it changed like my whole world. And basically I was shown that drag can be much more than just female impersonation, which is beautiful and wonderful. And there is a place for that in the drag world. But there's also a place for so much more. And I always say that drag is the cultivation of all art forms together into one, into one thing, for lack of better words. And so my whole life, I've always had this like really high, crazy high belt. And I've always been so drawn to like women in musical theater, like the Mother and Ragtime, Fontaine, Elphaba, like, you know, all the leading ladies. And wanting to be that, but always being told, well, you're a man or you're a boy, so you'll never even play those roles, was incredibly discouraging. But then once I discovered with drag that I can actually like feel that fantasy authentically, and that it's something about that clicked for me. And so I was like, well, like, I don't want to do musical theater anymore, because I didn't feel that what I was bringing to the table in the musical theater world was necessarily artistically fulfilling for me. And I felt that drag was much better for what I was bringing to the table. So then I was getting a BFA in musical theater, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I dropped down to a BA so that I could like take sewing classes and focus more on drag. And I've been doing drag ever since. So that's kind of how that happened.
This is an important story, and this is a great. My first album was called Unfinished Business because I gave up music at 18. I didn't want to act. I didn't want to sing. I became a school teacher. I was scared. I didn't feel fulfilled. And for me, the adjustment, I do cabaret. I sing and do all that, but I gave up musical theater. I didn't think it was best. My talents were best served there. I was trying to be something. I felt like I could do it, but I wasn't happy. Was it hard for you to make that adjustment? Did you have to mourn the idea of what you thought it was going to be to accept what it now is?
Yes. Because musical theater was like my life, like my heart, my soul, my world. I spend so much money, so much time, so much energy training and trying to like convince myself that I could be a leading man, or that I was either going to be Always in Kiki Boots or Book of Mormon or La Cage or, lady, like in Chicago. But something about it was like, I didn't feel as passionate about it as I did with drag. And it's interesting because now I want to get back into musical theater, but in a different way. And like seeing someone like Jinx Monsoon doing things like Chicago and Audrey and Little Shop, and pieces like Lempicka that are being created on a big commercial setting. It feels like, and what happened with the Tony Awards last year with Alex Newell, like winning, a non-binary actor, and there are roles being created for non-binary people. When I made this decision, that wasn't happening. You know what I mean? And I felt that I only could exist authentically in the world of drag, but now I'm feeling like, no, baby, like there is an avenue opening up for people like me and what I want to do. So it's exciting and an interesting turn of events.
Really exciting. Well, while we have you here, before we keep going on, we can follow you on Instagram and and follow it's your name, it's Novaczar. And if you're listening to us, the link is below, and you can see we have some looks that I cultivated from the world. I mean, we talked about Queen of the Universe, the TV show. Here's this is gorgeous hair, dress, beat down from head to toe. Look at these costumes. That looks like that is like a Mazda on your head. Like that's how that headpiece is gorgeous.
Those looks were crazy. We went off for lack of better words.
You went off.
Yeah.
And we talked about Lempicka and cultivating the Lempicka artwork in real life. We were talking to Carson, who co-wrote the show this morning, and me and Matt Gould have. He found me in the dumps of my life and brought me back to life 10 years ago. I thank him. I wouldn't be doing the show and wouldn't be an artist at all without him and his support. What is it about music? What are your favorite theater shows? I want a dish now. I'm ready. I want to know what do you? I heard you sing "Defying Gravity," and y'all, Novaczar sings down. So, what do you love to do? What are your go-to shows, or what are your go-to songs? Do you have any?
Yes. So I have this tattoo on my arm, and it says "There Will Be Light," which is from Next to Normal, which is my favorite musical of literal all time. I had the honor to be in it when I was in high school, and I was Gabe, because I was, that skinny, tenory boy who could play and sing Gabe authentically at that moment in time. But if there was a world where I could play Diana for the rest of my life, I would. Like that and nothing else. And I would be perfectly happy. That is like, I'm always so drawn to female roles that have an arc like that and that really bring out like trauma and like real life things that we experience. And like Fontaine and Les Mis is another dream role of mine. Lizzie and Lizzie Borden. Like I'm a Maureen in Rent. I'm definitely an Elphaba. Like those are Judy and 9 to 5. Like, the list goes on and on and on. Tamara de Lempicka. Like those roles where women can just like let it completely rip in all forms of the word, vocally and acting wise, like storytelling wise. That is what I'm so intensely drawn to.
Yes, I need to come now that I hear you talk about the kind of art that you're drawn to. Now I'm fascinated to know how this ties into your drag performances, because what is what music, what are your, like, how do you describe a performance? When can we see you? Are what I need to know now, because now I'm invested.
Yeah. So I always say, like, we're gonna go on a journey together. When I work at the Duplex, and what the Duplex does is they give queens like a month of a residency. So I'll be back at the Duplex Mondays in June and Wednesdays in July. And
Okay.
Stay tuned, because hopefully within the next couple of months I will have a permanent residency there. There are things in the works
That's good.
that are happening, which is a dream come true, because that's just like a 90-minute Novaczar one-woman show experience. And so I'm doing things like Singing the Wizard and I, or like How Did I End Up Here from Romance Romance, which is incredibly niche. But then I'm also like lip syncing to Stronger by Britney Spears. Like everything that I do, I don't necessarily like to put myself into one thing, because like you'll get the live singing and you'll get the high belting, but then I'll also do like Song of a White Bird from Lizzie Borden and like lip sync it with like some weird black veil around me. It's a journey. We're doing a bunch of different stuff.
Oh, so we're gonna stay tuned. I mean, we could see you in June,
Yeah.
but we're gonna, and anyone that's not in the New York area, the Duplex is legendary. I mean, it is literally at Stonewall. It's literally in the heart of the Village, and it is, where queer rights started the journey.
Yeah.
So it's got to be a very surreal sometimes moments. You come from Jersey to Virginia, back to New York City. What is, I'm 40 years old, and the journey to being out and being queer and living my life has been wild and has changed so much. What do you feel like in this time? We're still fighting rights. We're still marching for rights and drag rights and trans rights, etc. How important is your work and advocacy? Like your life is a protest. You on stage is a protest.
Yeah. So I always say that drag queens are the mascots for the queer community. And so people come to drag shows to escape, or to feel comforted and supported. And that, yes, that's a lot of pressure. But for me, I have been through a lot in my life, and I've dealt with many different things, not only just being queer, but in my personal home life and growing up was like incredibly rough. But I've always felt that there was a sense of power that I had, that I think my vision for myself is to be like a queer figure that people look up to and take note of in a positive way. And despite like the adversity that I've experienced, still coming out on the other side triumphant. And I feel that with the art that I'm bringing to the table, and with the incredible opportunities like working at the Duplex and being able to just share it with people, even if there's one person in the audience, which sometimes that happens, you never really know. It's not like Broadway where you always are going to have an audience. Sometimes you're begging people to come see your show. But for me, just being able to like make one person smile, or maybe that's their first time seeing a drag queen, and I'm, especially being a live singing drag queen, they always think like, oh, I thought it was just lip syncing, and being able to show them something different and something unique and special, that to me is powerful, just all within itself. Taking even being queer out of it, that already is so special to me. And yeah, being out and loud and proud. And it's interesting, like, I take the subway and drag to every single gig. I'm not one of those queens who, I could afford an Uber, but I would prefer to spend my money back into my art. I'm not really interested in, you know, taking a car just to be safe. Because I also feel that we should be out in people's faces. You should see me on the subway in drag, and maybe it makes you feel uncomfortable. But my question is, am I hurting you? Like, why are you so concerned with what I'm choosing to do with my art, with my time, with my body, with what I'm wearing, with what the makeup that I'm on. I don't understand why that bothers you so much, or why you're so threatened, where you feel the need to attack me in any sort of way. So, to me, and just me being on the subway in drag or walking down the street in drag is a form of protest all within itself.
It sure is, and it is so needed and necessary. And I know that there are many. I teach fifth grade in real life, and my fifth grade students, so many of them have come up to me and they talk about me being an out teacher. They ask me about drag culture or drag queens or people that I get to talk to on the show, or their own journey. Like there's a entire generation of people from around the world who are looking to the work that you do and the work that all the queens are doing, and they feel seen and heard, and it is so valuable. It's not just a club dancing and lip singing on the stage. It is a movement, everyone.
Right.
Well, was it hard to break into the drag community? I've had interviews with many a drag queen, and some are wonderful, some are tough. They're tough cookies out there. What is it like? How do you break into this world? What was it like for you?
Yeah, so my journey has been interesting, and it's still interesting. What I can say right now is I'm incredibly grateful for the position that I'm in. But how it started was I started dabbling when I was in Virginia, and then I went to college in Chicago. And I didn't realize that there was like a drag scene in Chicago that is pretty major and incredibly talented and diverse. But there in Chicago, the drag is mainly only in one area of Chicago, which is different from New York, because New York, anywhere you go, any borough, baby, you will find a drag queen. You know what I mean? And now specifically drag is so oversaturated. But at the time when I was in Chicago, I was trying to go out in drag just to like what they call showing face and networking and making those connections and trying to ask people for bookings, which I would get from time to time, or trying to do competitions that they had. But my drag career really took off when I got to New York City. And here in New York, if you're an amateur drag queen, you can literally do a open stage or an amateur drag competition every single day of the week. There's always something happening. People are always inviting people to shows all the time. So that's kind of what I did. And I remember I subletted an apartment in Harlem here the summer of 2018. And I just came to New York City just for the summer to get my feet wet. And I made all these connections, and I did all the shows, and I did all these competitions. And then things started taking off. And with those connections, I was able to go back to Chicago, finish my last semester of college, and still keep those connections alive via social media, and then come back and just hit the ground running. And then, through different connections that I still have to this day from when I was here in 2018, I've gotten weekly shows. I've gotten major gigs here and there. And it's just all about being good to work with and cherishing and nurturing those relationships and being like authentic and genuine, and not like a diva. And these things just kind of happen. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's the best advice you could ever give someone. Is my favorite part is to be like in a community, no matter if it's drag or queer or art or don't mind my dog, or if it's dentists. I don't know. Dentists need other dentists to support them. Like no matter what business you're in, be pleasant to work with and be genuine, because I'm sure you weren't going to people's shows and working for people's shows for free or tips.
Oh, yes.
Because you were using them. You were there because you really need that camaraderie, that community, and you all support each other. And that's what's so beautiful about it.
Yeah. And, there is a catty side of drag, unfortunately. And there are people that get threatened by you. And if they see that you're doing more successfully than they are, you know what I mean? And you're getting more opportunities that they may feel that you don't deserve for whatever reason, they will try and drag you down, like for lack of better words, LOL. But I feel like that's even with the corporate world, I'm sure things like that happen too. So that is something that I've dealt with a lot, and has been really, really hard to navigate. But we have a therapist for a reason, and
Amen.
and I have good people around me for a reason that believe in me and like know my heart and know what I'm trying to do with my talent and my art. And like, people, you're always going to have haters. I saw that on your Instagram today, actually. I saw like, no matter what you do, you're always going to have haters. People are always going to come for you, but always follow the light. And that is so true. And I feel that, if I wasn't deserving of the opportunities that I have, why would I have them? Why would I continue to have them? Even having this right now is like, to me, such a blessing. So I think that that's just like important to remember for like anybody, no matter what career path you're in.
Well, I appreciate that. Means a lot to me. And I did. I was having one of those days yesterday where, we all have real jobs and real bills to pay and real personal lives that are not for me on this show or for you on a stage in drag. And sometimes they're hard. And yesterday I left and I went to an event for the Broadway Podcast Network. And I was like, I'm so lucky and I'm so grateful. And people have been, it was such a rough, nasty day. And sometimes we need to there's always something positive and good. It's about perspective and just trying to face it. And what you do is allow people to have the outlet to go out and let their hair down and have some fun and enjoy themselves, which so much of it comes down to makeup and the look. So what do you do in terms of drag? Like besides the show, we want to see you. We want to see the awesomeness, which is so where do you get inspiration? And are you someone who designs? Are you helping design these costumes? What is your job in your look?
Yeah. So, all right. To go with me for a second. Novaczar is the Empress of the Galaxy, right? And she's from planet Exotica. So my like world is like a siren, a witch, a mermaid, a member of the Capitol from the Hunger Games in the 80s, but like acid trip, but sometimes like roller derby, sometimes like rock and roll, punk, club kid, androgynous Lee Bowery, Boy George, David Bowie, like that, all of that mixed into a blender and then come like out in juice form, and then digested and then out again is Novaczar. Like there's really no limit. And when I think about the galaxy, I just think like it's all encompassing. There's no end, there's no beginning. It's just constantly flowing because that's how it always has felt for me. Art has come always really easy for me. And just, I feel like the creativity just flows in my bones. And I feel like it's just like a part of who I am. But yeah, I design things all the time. I'm not somebody who likes to repeat looks. And there are queens out there that are so comfortable and just doing one thing, and that's great and it works for them. For me, that gives me so much anxiety, like to think that I might be doing something that is similar to something I did yesterday or last week or last month. People always will say that you never know what to expect from Novaczar, which I'm proud of. That's something that makes me so happy, because it's cool to me. And I don't do my own wigs, but I do will commission people for wigs. I do know how to sew. I spray paint all the time. I'll hot glue. I will safety pin. I will cut something up and just make something work. Like that's always, and with my looks for Queen of the Universe, every look that I did was my idea. So I came to the designer with a concept and I said, okay, so for example, one of the categories was pretty in pink. So I was like, oh, everybody's going to do like Barbie or something, that's not outside of the box. So my mind went to a pink glittery unicorn. And so we did something like that. And so I bring the idea to a designer, they come up with the design, and then together I can say, okay, like let's tweak this or let's tweak that, or that's perfect, you got that correct. And even with my photo shoots, specifically with like Lempicka, I brought the idea to them and I'll just say, here's some like photo inspirations. This is what I'm trying to bring to the table. And with my videos and that sort of thing. And we collaborate together, which is one of my favorite things to do, is collaborate with other artists. And for someone to take one of my visions and then take it to a whole nother level is like, it's like chef's kiss. I love that. There's nothing, you can't replace that feeling for me.
It's so great because I think you're right. I think it's all the art forms. It's fashion, it's comedy, it's music, it's stage presence and persona, it's dance. It is, drag is the opportunity to do all of the things put together. It's that added element, but it's usually done with a small team. And this is not you're not putting on a Broadway show where there's 50 people. It's you and small collaborations and your idea, and you run with it. And it's fearless and it's brave and it's exciting.
Yeah.
Excited. When you went to the show, what was the reaction when you went to Olympia in the outfit?
Oh my God. Okay. So like I wasn't even processing um that I was in drag. Like I literally did that photo shoot that day and I was just constantly thinking about, oh my God, this photo shoot, I gotta get this done, I gotta get this done, and then I gotta go to the show. And I just wasn't even, and then I like show up to the theater and I'm like, oh, I'm in drag right now. Oh, and these people are here to see this show and I am, it didn't process for me. And so it was like shocking. I was like, oh wow, like I didn't even, it didn't even cross my mind that I was going to get any sort of perception. And it was wild. People were going crazy. I was getting my photo taken like around every corner. People were asking for my Instagram. Somebody wanted to interview me with the New Yorker. And like I met Matt Gold for the first time and he was like, let's take a photo in front of this. Like it was insane. I had never felt like I was in the right place at the right time. And then like watching this show and after studying it for 2 years and being obsessed and literally like watching this powerful queer female woman, like who is an artist, like that's literally belting her freaking face off. That is literally everything that I aspire to be. So it just felt so like serendipitous and like the weirdest, most beautiful way. And I am sometimes struggle with finding the words to really express that feeling because it was just magical, like it was otherworldly.
It sure is, and your look was so fantastic, and I loved seeing it. And I saw, and I had to follow, and I had to fan out about your work because it's beautiful. So the pictures you've created and the art and this whole universe that you've created for Novaczar is so good. I love it. I'm excited. I'm gonna have you come to one of my shows and sing. We're gonna have to
Yes,
because you dancing, singing, look up and down, doing the whole entire thing. I'm here. We're here for it. We can follow you, right? That's the best thing for us to do. Follow you.
yes. Follow me, and I'm in this process of wanting to find an agent for musical theater because something that I've struggled with and still am struggling with is figuring out how do I present myself to casting directors and be taken seriously as a drag queen that wants to play like Fontaine or Diana or Elphaba. And so being able to find representation who sees my vision and can help me craft that so that I can one day actually be on Broadway where I feel like I really belong. But in with I want to in the most authentic way is something that is a mission of mine that I'm trying to get right now.
I know that you put it out there in the universe, and we're going to get this to happen. And I know that there is so much work for you and so many opportunities that are going to come, and that this journey and you just saying it and being a part of it and doing the work it's going to happen before you know it. I'm ready to see you on stage. Let's go.
Let's make it happen. I'm ready. I'm trained. I'm galvanized. I'm focused. Ready to take the crown.
Let's do it. I'm ready. I'm so proud of you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in person. I'm looking forward to seeing your work. I'm excited, and thank you so much for being here. Everyone, Novaczar is on Instagram. Go follow at Novaczar, and we'll be following. And I look forward to seeing. Maybe I'll see you on a Broadway show. Maybe I'll see you back at Olympia. Well, I'll see you at the Duplex.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity. This was wonderful.
My goodness, thank you so much for being here and sharing your art and your artistry with us. We so appreciate you.
Of course, no problem.